Okay, this is week 6, Web225. A little under the weather tonight, so we'll do it online. So anyway, let's go and get started. Um, this week we're going to be covering white balance and your what would have been your take home. You have basically two take homes this week, both on white balance. So let's go ahead and get started. Did email everybody about, I believe, Saturday or Sunday on getting a Flickr account and emailing me the URL to your Flickr account because Foki has indeed stopped the free account. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Check your email um, or just go to flickr.com, register for a new account. Um, don't worry about transferring your old pictures as of yet. If you have time, that's great. But I don't want you to fall behind because you had to transfer photos, or maybe some of you can't get in your account. And so, yeah, just start from this week on, and we'll be fine. So, week 6, let's go into that. We're going to cover again white balance, and got some notes here to go over here. 3 of them actually. So I'm going to open all 3 of these. And white balance is real vital when it comes to photography. Knowing a true white helps note true color. And so, let's try that again. There we go. So white balance acts as an aspect of photography that many digital camera owners don't understand or use. It's something though that we need to kind of spend some time playing with because it can really impact the way your shots look. And so for those of you who have been avoiding white balance, we're going to play with it this week, and hopefully you'll get more comfortable utilizing white balance. Um, so at its simplest, the reason we adjust white balance is to get the colors in your image as accurate as possible. So in order to get true blue, you need to have true white, true green, true white, and true all the other colors. True white needs to be recognized in the photo. So why would you need to get the color right in your shots, the right color? Um, so you might have noticed when you're looking at your photos after taking them, the images can come out with an orangish tint, a bluish tint, a yellowish tint. Despite the fact of what your naked eye sees, the scene looks quite normal. The reason for that is the images, different source of light, have different colors or temperature. It's called the Kelvin temperature, the Kelvin scale. We'll learn about more this semester as we go on. Might even talk about it here in this article. Now, fluorescent lighting adds a bluish cast to photos. Tungsten, the old school light bulbs that households don't use anymore, it adds a yellowish tinge. So if you look at old Polaroid photos, we're taking indoors. A lot of them look like they're smoke stained or something. They're yellowish. That actually has a lot to do with the incandescent lighting. So the range of temperatures is from very cool light of a blue sky through a very warm light of a candle. So we notice in this picture here, these 3 pictures of Johnson's baby powder and lotion, as we come from the left to the right, the one on the very right is the truest color. You got a white bottle, a pink bottle, but notice over here it starts with a blue bottle, kind of a purple bottle, or lavender. This is a little off-white, still a little bluish, and still a little purplish. And then finally, the correct color. And so All of this has to do with, by the way, finding the right white balance, getting this result here. So again, ranges of color from very cool, a blue sky, through very warm light of a candle. We don't generally notice temperature changes. Our eyes don't anyway, because our eyes automatically adjust, like we talked about last week. So unless the temperature of the light is very extreme, whether it be very bright or very dark, um, a white sheet of paper will generally look white to us. However, a digital camera isn't smart enough to understand these adjustments and automatically adjust them as your eyes are, and doesn't know how to treat different light. So for the cooler, bluer, or greener light, you're going to tell the camera to warm things up, and in the warmer light, you'll tell them to cool things down. In film days, we would normally just choose 2 daylight and tungsten. And of course, one film for both situations would be impossible. So to adjust white balance, you need to have what's called, different digital cameras have digital white balance, how you adjust them. And we're going to look at different ways of manually adjusting your white balance in order to get a specific change needed. So having said this, almost all digital cameras do have an automatic, semi-automatic, and even manual adjustment. So here's some preset white balances that might be on your camera. Auto gets the best shot, best guess at the best shot. Tungsten, this usually symbolizes a little light bulb shooting for indoors. Incandescent bulbs generally cools down the colors, and adding some blue. Fluorescent, this compensates for the cool, slightly green fluorescent light and warms up the shots. They'll have two options, fluorescence a lot of times, normal and halogen. Daylight sunny, not all cameras have this setting, but it's fairly normal white balance. It warms up your shot, adding some yellow and orange. Cloudy, this generally warms things up more than daylight. Flash, most of your cameras have flash, and so it can be quite cool. And so a flash WB mode will warm up your shots just a little bit. Shade, the light in the shade generally is cooler or bluer than shooting in direct sunlight. So this mode will warm things up just a little. So let's talk about manual white balance. You might ask, how do I adjust my camera with manual white balance? I'm glad you asked. We're going to talk about it. In most cases, you've got to get a pretty accurate result using the above presets. But most, it says some here, but most digital cameras, they come with manual white balance adjustment. The way it's used varies from model to model, but in essence what you do is you tell your camera what real white looks like, and you use that as a reference point to change all the other colors within your shot. In photography, it's actually called a white or a gray card, designed to do a task. You can literally take a white piece of paper, fold it up, and use it to do a manual white balance. You'll look through your camera, and your camera will actually have, when you get to manual white balance mode, it'll actually give you step by step what to do. Point your camera towards a piece of white paper, snapshot it, then take your picture, and it uses that white balance as a source for real white. So we're going to look at a couple photos here. The first one is some books taken in auto white balance mode. The light in my room was 3 standard incandescent bulbs. They were quite warm or yellow. So the automatic setting, you'll notice, kind of brings some yellowish tint here to the books. After taking this picture, holding up a piece of white paper to the camera, you tell it what color it is, white is, then you take a second shot, and you'll notice much truer color than the first image. Yellowish tint, normal colors. It's almost like a yellow film is over this. And here you actually lift the yellow film and get to see the true white and true yellows, true reds within the text or within the picture. So the manual adjustment is not difficult. You do have to play with it to figure it out, just like anything. And that's what you're going to be doing partly this week, is doing that. So here's some creative ways though that you can use white balance. There's times when as a photographer you don't want your accurate colors in the photograph. Maybe you want to warm up something that's uh, a little light, a little cool. And so what you can do basically is you can either go out and buy expensive color filters, or you can just fake out your shots with auto white balance, but using the incorrect one. So an example here is what the flower would really look like. Uh, this one was taken with using a tungsten, um, turning your camera to white balance for tungsten maybe. We'll give it kind of a bluish tint. And then lastly, maybe turning it towards shade. We'll give it kind of a darker look here. So the first shot is probably the best, but if you were photographing a sunset on a beach on the end of a summer day, uh, of the last shot, you might want to add some mood or feel of the image. In other words, you can add shooting on a cold, misty winter's day out in the countryside. You might want to enhance the feeling. We could just use cooler tones of the second shot. Um, so manipulating white balance for artistic effect, the ability to do this, you can either do it back in the film days in the lab. You could do it, just manipulate it there. But with digital cameras, we don't have to do that. Um, the most appropriate way to do it, or most photographers do it, is basically to manipulate the white balance to be something that it shouldn't be, to give an artistic look. And so you could deliberately set the wrong white balance to achieve an artistic effect. For example, like in this picture here, when at a beach on a perfectly sunny day, you might set the white balance for cloudy or even shady, and it's going to give you more of a tan, bronze look to your skin, even though the person might not be tan. Voila, instant suntan. Be warned though, this may not work for scenes in which the sky is visible or the color manipulation may be quite obvious. So if you focus in on the skin tone, you're usually okay. But if you had it kind of this person standing up in the background of the sky, it probably wouldn't work too great. If you're wanting to manipulate an icy scene, you can play around with daylight and shade. So basically just playing around with your adjustments on your auto white balance to be different than what they are in reality can give an artistic effect. Now this little page here gives you what it looks like when you set the white balance to different areas. So cloudy, it's a white bloodroot flowers photographed against a fallen birch, kind of sunny day. So by adding a cloudy effect, notice it darkens it up. A tungsten effect blues it up, adds blue. Auto white balance does a pretty good job. Flash lightens it up even more. Fluorescent adds blue. Daylight, a little darker. And then shade, even a little darker. So this shows you how you can manipulate a true color by giving it a wrong white balance, or finding the right white balance by selecting the right white balance. Like in this case, an auto white balance would work just fine. Okay, so white balance examples. I'll have you go through this and look at the different examples of white balance and the different auto white balances that can be applied. It even gives a temperature, and that is the bottom link here. I'll have you look at that on your own. So the in-class exercise, what you're going to do is watch a video link here, complete the challenge here, and I even have the solution. And then on your way home, or in this case this week, at home, or around your work tomorrow, 10 or 15 minutes, spend manipulating white balance, taking 3 to 5 photos, take some indoor outdoor shots, use manual mode if your camera has it, and then I want you to submit it into week 6 in class. Create an album called week 6 in class in Flickr, and submit the URL here below. Done. The word done and the URL here below would be awesome. And then read the take home, which is basically an ISO exercise. You're basically going to be setting the ISO to auto or the lowest ISO setting. Set the picture size to max if it already isn't, and JPEG if it already isn't. And you're going to basically shoot using the auto white balance. You're going to shoot 4 pictures, and you're going to change the setting of each light setting to fit. So basically what you're going to have is use the auto white balance, shoot 4 pictures of each with the below light settings. And so find a light setting with direct sunlight, a picture light setting that's naturally in the shade, a picture that's naturally in tungsten, a picture that's in fluorescent. You might not be able to find tungsten around, but these are the actual settings of the actual photo you're taking. So something outside, something in the shade, something maybe indoors. Then you're going to set the white balance to sunlight and shoot the same picture. And then choose a correct white balance. So if the condition outside is sunny, you're going to do an auto sunlight sunlight, shade, auto sunlight shade, tungsten, auto sunlight tungsten, and then fluorescent, auto sunlight fluorescent. So you might not be able to find old school tungsten, that's okay. Once you're finished, upload to week 6, label them accordingly. A challenge is if you have manual mode, do the above but add a manual to each one of these. So manual, 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 and manual on all of them. Okay? Well, that concludes week 6. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, have fun taking photos. All right? See you next week. Bye-bye.